Jarvis, drop my needle.
Hello, this is the hardcore legend Mick Foley, and if you are interested in listening to idiots, you came to the right place. Have a nice day.
Woo! That's an attention getter.
He's a very strange young man.
He's an idiot.
What we're dealing with here is a complete lack of respect for the law.
Oh my God, he's an idiot.
You know, of course, that you're out of your jurisdiction.
Personally, I think you're an idiot.
But that's the evidence in the car.
I was going into Toshi Station to pick up some power converters.
Always like to keep my audience riveted.
Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, friends and fiends, and welcome to Free Range Idiocy, the podcast about everything, but mostly just the stuff we like. When Boba Fett made his glorious return in Season 2 of The Mandalorian, Star Wars fans, including the two hosting this show, were happier than a Corellian smuggler in a den of scum and villainy with a stolen credit card. A badass character that had been unceremoniously jobbed out in Return of the Jedi had been redeemed, and all was right with a galaxy far, far away. And now, we get even more. Book of Boba Fett premieres on Disney Plus at the end of December, which can only mean that, yes, one more round of fan theories about what's going to happen and who it'll happen to, as we tell you which ones are the real and which ones are the jabroni. In this, episode 86, a bounty hunter walks into a bar and takes over the galaxy's criminal underworld. I am your Uncle Todd, and with me, as always, is the man who once took some expired cold medicine and then challenged Bob Holly to a 2 out of 3 falls hardcore match in a Wendy's somewhere in southern New Jersey. By the way, it was closer than you'd expect. Bob totally got away with pinning him on the salad bar. It shouldn't have gone down that way. He has been my partner in idiocy for over 2 decades and frequent designated driver. I give you the man they call Tim.
Greetings and salutations, my friend. How are you?
I'm doing well. And you know what? I wanted to make sure I worked that in there because you totally should have been hardcore champion instead of Bob Holly. But, that level curmudgeon just got you.
I appreciate the shout out.
I was very impressed that he did manage to break out the best drop kick in the business off of the same salad bar, and you took it like a champ. You really did.
Well, if we know anything from our backyard, wrestling matches we've had in the past, I am all about making my opponent look good. So,
oh yeah, you put on your flying shoes. You bump. You bump for anybody and everybody.
That's right.
You are the man behind the man behind the man.
I think I'm still working that middle of the back disc back into place after getting rock bottomed onto that rock. Good Lord.
I think it was more of a root, actually.
Yeah, whatever it was, it didn't feel good going into the back.
And somewhere Mick Foley's like, you want to hear about an injury?
Yeah, I know. Mick could put me to shame.
It can put most anybody to shame. Let's put it that way. There's like NFL players who are, real tough guys who go, ugh, watching some of his stuff. Oh, well, once again, this is our epic series. I feel like this is like if you happen to go to church and it's like, oh, and we're in week 23 of our 48-week series. Oh my gosh, this is like our 18th reel or jabroni, or it seems like. This is the last one of the year, though, and that's only because it's the end of the year. But
yes.
We are going to talk about all of the fan theories swirling about for the Book of Boba Fett, which we are really excited for. But first of all, we need to get into some bite-sized chunks of pop culture and random geekery in a little thing that we like to call the Week in Geek.
The Week in Geek.
Feels so funky.
Well, thank you, my friend, and we're going to kick it off a little different this time around, mainly because we've already covered football in our prior episode, and there really hasn't been a whole lot of action since then.
No.
So we're going to start off with a little Spider-Man No Way Home.
Yes.
As Uncle Todd mentioned, we've been hitting the real or jabroni gimmick hard, but that's only because, well, there's a lot of content coming out in the last 2 weeks. We've
essentially turned this gimmick into like the 24/7 championship in WWE. Basically. It's just schoolboy roll up after schoolboy roll up each and every week.
Yes. And one of those movies, which we'll be doing reactions to in a upcoming episode, is Spider-Man No Way Home, which debuted last week. Really just blowing away the box office numbers with, I believe, according to the article, sir, $253 million for the weekend. Is that what I read?
Yes, which is actually it's topping an estimated 260 and continuing in the U.S.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's oh my gosh, it's crazy money, money.
Is this global? Let's see.
I think that might be domestic.
No, an estimated 260 million and counting in the U.S. alone. Yeah. I mean, this is insanity numbers when that was like what Black Widow pulled for its entire theatrical run was like half of this, and people and Marvel was thrilled. Yeah, I was amazed to read in this article, which I'll source it from Den of Geek. This came by way, actually, just for a second, all of these came by way of Uncle Todd. We had a slight content shift, and Uncle Todd swooped in and took care of business while I was off enjoying a bratwurst and some glue wine. So, with all that,
what was that? What's that place called again? The thing that you went to?
The Chris Kindle Market.
Yes. Okay. So yeah, you were down getting your gluten, gloppen, schleeten, gluten stuff today, and
exactly
in a nice farfignugan on a roll and all kinds of other goodness. And yeah, I was actually working today.
Yeah. I understand,
and I'm unjustifiably envious, quite honestly. It just sounds like it would have been right up my alley. Like, ooh. Yes. Please let me just walk around.
Been, sir. It would have been. There were beers. There were steins of beers. It was a whole thing. So
just hush your mouth and let's get back to Spider-Man, shall we?
All right. So what I found interesting was Spider-Man was the first movie in 2 years, so going all the way back to Rise of Skywalker, that had an opening that was above 100 million, which I blew my mind. I mean, in a way, it shouldn't surprise me because, given the conditions we've been living in the last 2 years, but it still kind of blew my mind given that things had kind of reopened earlier this year. And I just would have assumed of the movies that have been released in theaters that we would have had something sooner. But no, this is the first one since Rise of Skywalker to break that threshold.
Yeah. And so it falls only behind Avengers Endgame. In terms of no, that's some pretty damn fine company right there.
Mm-hmm.
And it actually beat out Avengers Infinity War. So it's insane. But at the same time, very well deserved. And there's been a lot of folks who have kind of been crapping on, comic book movies and this and that, just like anybody does, because anything that becomes popular, there's got to be somebody saying, oh, yeah, well, blah, 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 blah. Like if you're on Reddit, you'll see these posts where they're like, hey, does anybody else think that, insert well-known band or artist here really sucks, even though everyone else likes them? And then a bunch of people pile on because they're like, oh, yeah, right. I didn't ever. It's like, stop yucking everybody else's yum. Just like your stuff and just let the rest go. Although that being said, that we would be out of a job if we actually did that. So we'd kind of bend that rule a little. But oh my gosh, yeah, this was so well deserved for such a well-made movie with a lot of heart and a great story and great special effects, everything. I mean, it was lovely. Yeah, and I won't go any further than that.
Yeah, no, well earned, and the story, and I think, I have to think some of the promise or some of what lent itself to them achieving this was, again, some of the anticipation of what folks assumed was going to be in the movie, some of which we covered in our Spider-Man Real and Jabroni episode.
Mm-hmm.
And they paid that off in spades. I think, as Uncle Todd, just kind of alluded to, I think as well that it was a solid story that was well executed and really just, it wasn't fan service for the sake of fan service. There was a good deep story behind it, and it was the emotional moments were earned, and we'll get into all of this when we get to our kind of readout reactions on this whole thing. But overall, just it was well earned given what they did and what the story came out to be. So fantastic movie. Would highly recommend it if you haven't seen it already.
Yes, indeed. Yeah.
All right, moving right along. Uncle Todd unearthed, and actually, I'm kind of thinking we might have covered this one before. I'd have to go back to a past outline, but
we
this
might
one
have.
looks familiar.
But you know what? It's there has been nothing since September of 2021, and even that wasn't that much. So yeah, I'm fine with rehashing this because it is just amusing to me to see oh, here's an update on this, and no, it's not really.
Yeah, no. This is a so the topic is the Battlestar Galactica reboot that is coming to Peacock in the near century. Basically, Uncle Todd and I have we have analyzed, given our thoughts, have talked at length about Battlestar Galactica from the 2000s, a masterpiece from beginning to end. But this reboot, very skeptical, and rightfully so, because we have heard next to nothing about any sort of progress. So,
which the really funny part is that, as I was reading through the very beginning of this. This article is from 2021. I mean, from September 2021. They're like, oh yeah, which was this reboot, which it was announced in 2019, and yet still, this was before Peacock launched, and we were kind of talking about it, oh my gosh, is this gonna be the flagship show, or is it gonna come out very soon after they premiere? Is this the thing they're kind of one of the things they're using to launch, sort of when Paramount launched their streaming service, Star Trek Discovery was kind of one of the big things that was it. I don't think it was on immediately when they debuted the service, but came along. I mean, not Paramount Plus, but what was it called? CBS Plus or something like that.
Yeah, I think it was CBS Online or something.
And but it was kind of a hook, hey, this is coming, and that was one of the things that they used to kind of grab eyeballs and to pull people in initially. That's what I thought they were doing with this. And here we are 2 years later. Not only do we not have casting, a logo, anything, there's I'm convinced that they haven't probably even outlined anything. This is it's like a Ponzi scheme in some ways. But I don't know how they're profiting off it. That's the thing.
Are we bringing out the MLM? Is that what we're saying?
No, it's not even as legit as an MLM. This is just an out and out scam.
All right.
This is an out and out con. I just can't quite figure out how they're profiting, which actually fits in very well with how this whole thing is going. It's you didn't even think about how you're going to make money off of this, did you? Yeah, not real smart.
And to your point, sir, I mean, we also, so there's been no progress in the last 2 years. And one of those years, we spent about 75% of it locked down in our home. So you'd think as a writer, you would have the optimal kind of environment to crank out an outline, maybe some kind of, first run at a rough draft. You know what I mean? By now we'd have something that might come close to a pilot concept.
Well, yes, in terms of that, yes, there should definitely be. I mean, and you would think that that Peacock would be trying to throw out something, either that or maybe the reaction was just so lukewarm or anti this that they're just trying to let it go. And just never mention it again. They're trying to totally WCW this thing. It just went away. But it would be the optimal time to have a series Bible and to write the pilot. Now, as far as the whole series, writers' rooms and however the dynamics of that work, that's been tough. But there have been writers' rooms that have gone on during COVID. It's been virtual, and I've Mark Bernardin had talked about doing some of that and how it's kind of awkward because part of a writer's room, at least from what I've heard and kind of what I glean, is the fact that you're in the room together and it's sort of like being in a band. It's the hang, and a lot of the stuff that comes out of that is people bouncing stuff around and kind of the weird things that happen and just the personalities come out, and that all works into the scripts and the ideas that come forth. That all being said, we should have some sort of news about like, hey, we got a pilot. We're starting to do some casting. There's, there's this, there's that. I mean, you'd think that we would get something at this point, but no, which is why to me, I'm like, is Sam Esmail just trying to like, did he get like a pay or play type of deal where it's like, hey, if you never make this, you still get $50 million. Really? All right. I'm just going to keep on saying, yeah, it's going to come out next month.
I'm going to be over here by the pool with a cocktail.
Exactly. Actually, has anyone even seen this guy since then? Did he just disappear and he's got like a little like casa down in Costa Rica that he's just retired to and we're never going to hear from him again?
Quite possibly.
I mean, I'd be tempted to. I got to tell you.
I think the other aspect of the article, which was interesting, was, calling out to, some of the series that were supposed to have followed after BSG ended. The Caprica, the one season that aired on Sci-Fi, that was eventually canceled. Their attempt to do Blood and Chrome, which ended up being turned into just a web series.
Yeah.
And just kind of pointing out that even if you have this rabid fan base that wants more BSG content, it's not a guarantee that when you put some sort of, not franchise, but some sort of vehicle out there that is meant to kind of carry that on, like they weren't carrying the viewers with them, and so whatever they come up with is going to be, they're kind of facing an uphill battle because the fan base got interested in that series, and I think we've talked about this before, that series at that time, because there was a hook there that was unique to the times of when it debuted. And
yes,
this whole and what I mean specifically by that is this whole idea of the Cylons being human and being like sleeper cells within the human population was playing off of the vibe that was going on back in the early 2000s with all of 9/11 and everything that was going on. You know what I mean? And so it kind of played off of what had been going on in the world around us and made it a little more accessible, I think. And so now, as a writer or someone putting together a reboot, what is that hook going to be now? Like, what is the thing that's going to pull people in? Because it can't just be the metal Cylons, oppressing the humans. We've been there, we've done that. We need something else. You know what I mean? Well, so I'm curious to see what that would look like.
I would also argue, I think you're correct. You're correct. It is a product of its time. It is a product of a post 9/11 world. It is seeing the apocalypse of humanity being wiped out on a grand scale. However, there are people who are getting into that show today who are not of our age. I mean, because you and I, being in our mid 40s when 9/11 happened, we were in our early to mid 20s. And
sure,
that hits you a certain way at that age, the same as it would if those people who were 10 when 9/11 happened. It was a very different experience. When you're in your 20s, one of the first things you're thinking, at least I was like, okay, so where am I getting shipped off to in about a month or two? Because it's a legit possibility. Like, you didn't know. Like, when that happened, there was no telling. So there's a whole bunch of other stuff going on. But people who are watching that now who are in their 20s, they were not alive, or they were very young, or people, it's not that you have to be in and of that time. Although it is a product of its time, but you don't necessarily have to be associating with that. What I think makes it most is just what makes the 2004 BSG what it is being a product of its time, certainly. However, it's the combination of an excellent showrunner who had already been through a lot of sci-fi and knew exactly what he wanted to do, and the assembly of talent that they got. And it's kind of a lightning in a bottle thing. Like, having Edward James Olmos come in and essentially just literally become the captain of that show.
Right.
And from everything I've read and heard, like, he was very much like a champion of that show, and like, hey, we're going to do this right. And nobody was going to no one's mucking around when Eddie's on set, because he's taking this deadly serious.
Right.
And and Bear McCreary's score and just all the decisions that they made that went into that, all of a sudden they're like, hey, well, you like Battlestar Galactica, you're going to watch Caprica. No. Why?
Right.
Well, because the characters aren't as compelling. It's not the same writing staff. It's not the same thing. You know what? Just because I am passionate about, the Admiral and Laura Roslin and Starbuck and Apollo and all this, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to want to watch something else in that same world if you don't give me characters that are as good and acted as well. Just period. Like, I mean,
100%. Yeah.
And you saw that back when you had the original Battlestar Galactica and they canceled it. And then they said, hey, well, maybe we can make a sequel, but we got to make it cheaper. So, by the way, we're not going to have Richard Hatch or Dirk Benedict on it because they're too expensive. So we'll pay the money to Lauren Green and I think they paid one or two other actors from the original series that they I think Lauren Green was probably the big ticket guy. And then they had a few other affordable guys. And then they brought in a bunch of new actors and we're just like, hey, see, it's Battlestar Galactica. And people were like, no, it's not, because it's obviously cheap. And I don't care about these characters because I didn't know them.
Right.
And you can look at any number of series that have tried to do this, where they either replace actors or they continue a show or they want to spin off another show. It doesn't work because I like those characters or I like the writing from here. And then you took that away. And now, well, I just won't continue watching it. Sort of like what you were talking about with WWE and wrestling and stuff. Like you can, Vince wants this world where you just tune in because it's WWE, and it doesn't always work like that.
Right. Well, and to your point, there was more to that series than just the hook. But I do remember it being, they showed the pilot, and then I think there was some time, and then they kind of got into the series, right? As I recall.
Yeah. So the miniseries came out first, and then there was definitely a break before they went to series because the miniseries was kind of the test, to see does anyone really want to watch this as a show? And it kind of became obvious as that aired that there's something here.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And the storytelling obviously was a huge part of it too. It's the challenge now is, now that there's been a version of this that has been done well, what are they going to do that's going to make it compelling for people to want to watch again, or watch something that's branded by this or branded in this way once more? Because like with anything, once you see something that you think is very good and has set a very high bar, it's very difficult, to connect and be engaged in something else that follows. It's trying to kind of reach for that bar.
Yeah, it would be sort of like when you talk about Star Trek. I mean, well, because you can make, and one of the things that they mentioned in this article is the fact that it's already been rebooted once. How to do a second reboot, a version of this story or these characters or this universe is extremely hard to do. Because there are still people who love the original Battlestar Galactica, the Lauren Green, Richard Hatch, type of thing, and feel very passionately, and still don't like the 2004, what's his name? Gosh, the showrunner. I'm completely, Ronald D. Moore. They don't like the Ron Moore version. Now you're gonna, but it was done really well and it was very popular. Now you're gonna try and reboot that. It's like if you took Star Trek. And you did Star Trek, then you did Star Trek The Next Generation, which was a gamble. And then you do like Star Trek The Next Generation instead of going to Deep Space Nine and starting to explore other areas. And it would be almost like if Star Trek The Next Generation was essentially like, hey, here's a different version of Captain Kirk. Here's a different version of Spock. And they kind of got away with that because they were like, okay, you can see where Data and Spock, and okay, these characters are similar and things like that, but it wasn't like a one-for-one thing. And then say, okay, well, that worked. All right, now we're going to reboot it again. And here's another version of Kirk. And here's another version of Spock. It'd be like, your chances of success on that are so astronomically low. You reboot something once and make it work better than the original.
Yeah.
Just walk away.
Yep.
Just walk away, dude. You've won.
Yep.
Because the other thing is, it's not like something where they can do like the Star Trek thing and go, oh well, here's Deep Space Nine. It's called Battlestar Galactica. You got to have the ship in the show, so somehow you have to get around the fact that, hey, we already told this story twice. So we're going to get into Batman now, where we show the apocalypse of humanity yet again. Like, oh, we're going to kill Bruce and we're going to kill the Waynes again. By the way, enjoy. We get to watch that in Crime Alley again. How do you get around that? And I think that I don't. The chances of success on this are so stupid low. It's like hitting on 20 in blackjack. Like, really?
Yeah.
Even the dealer is going to ask you 2-3 times, are you really sure? I mean, I know that I'm going to be doing my job here, but really?
Exactly.
Can we get someone to test this guy? I think not only is he drunk, I think he's on PCP. The first time a dealer ever refuses to give a guy a hit, like, nope, sorry, I can't in good conscience do this because you're so stupid.
Right.
All the aces in the chute are on the table right now. No, I won't do it.
Don't do it.
It's like what was it? What was the poker thing where he's like, I won't draw on a made hand or something like that? I can't remember. Is that Rounders?
It might be. I don't remember.
Anyways, all right. I've talked long enough on that. You please rescue me from myself on this.
No. I think we have debated and adjudicated, my friend. I mean, I think we both feel like this is not going to be really any sort of compelling content. And quite honestly, not going to be surprised early next year if we end up seeing a little blurb saying, "Oh, the BSG reboots no more," because, hey, you know what? The Peacock network is going, and it seems like they're doing okay without it. So,
yeah.
So I don't know that we're going to really get that. And
in fact, you know what would be a better move than that? If on Peacock, what they did was they actually took and gave us the full version of the episodes, which I'm guessing that they haven't done that, because when we did our rewatch, you were watching on Amazon, and they would cut
I was
out
watching on Sci-Fi, that's right. So Sci-Fi, I'm guessing it's probably the same version of the show. Like, you want to really, give people a chance to watch, like, hey, here's the air version, and then here is the extended version of every single BSG episode with like the extra scenes and stuff like this, and give Ron Moore a couple $100,000 to go back and recut, extended versions of all the episodes, and then also have all the DVD material, put that on there and just let it go. Yeah.
Like, you've already got something that's absolutely fracking perfect. Just gussy it up and give us all the stuff. And you know what? You're going to get a boost off of that, because people want that. I've got all the DVDs, so I'm a happy camper. I've got that forever and ever. Amen. But you can't find any of that stuff anywhere now.
No.
Throw that on Peacock and make a big deal out of it. Profit. There we go. Much better than this money laundering scheme that apparently, Sam Esmail and is working with the mafia or something. I mean, I don't know that that's true, but I mean, it's a rumor. I mean, I just started the rumor, but it's a rumor.
Indeed. So once again, BSG reboot, not a good idea.
Thank you once again for playing Pat Summerall to my John Madden. Just letting me rant.
Problem. No problem.
And in summary.
Took the last 15 minutes and boiled it into 5 words. There it is.
That's why he gets paid the big bucks, folks.
Our next item, and I don't really have a whole lot to say about this, because quite honestly, I have yet to see, I think I may have seen the trailer, but Uncle Todd entitled this article, "Do you actually give a crap about the new Raptor from the new Jurassic World movie?"
And the answer is no, I do not.
I can give you the short answer of no. But you, sir, had a few thoughts on this, and I'm just curious, what is stuck in your craw about this new Raptor?
I just, it's not the new Raptor per se. Like, I got nothing against it. I'm sure it's a very lovely dinosaur descended from birds, and has a beautiful prancing way about it and whatever. I'm just tired of the fact that, like, this is kind of the way that these movies have gone. Like, it's all about the dinosaur du jour and Chris Pratt doing Chris Pratt things. it's not interesting to me. You know, like the first movie we had the raptor with the blue thing, because apparently, you know, they combined raptor DNA with this other DNA, and then Cyndi Lauper's hair from the 80s, and they were like, oh, it's named Blue. Oh, sure, why not? Whatever. And, you know, then of course, you know, that raptor makes it to the next movie, and then we've got this new dinosaur, and after a while it turns into like it's all about the dinosaurs, which it kind of is. But you got to have some interesting human characters involved as well to actually give a crap about. Otherwise, it basically becomes a less cool Godzilla.
Right.
And that's just kind of what it is for me. These movies don't really do much for me because it's like, hey, here's nostalgia, and we'll kind of do some stuff that's sort of like before, and it just falls flat for me.
If I put it into wrestling terms, is it kind of like they've taken this franchise and they started with like a ladder match, and then they kind of turned it into a TLC match, and then they turned it into a tag team TLC match? It's like there's always like one next step to take the gimmick. You know what I mean? And is that kind of what this is all about as well? Like, it just seems like every time they come back with another sequel, they have to invent some new dinosaur, right?
It's almost like you take the Heart Foundation, and then the next thing you get is the new Foundation, and you get Jim the Anvil Neidhart and Owen Hart in like the ultimate like 1990s like teal and hot pink. Weird sort of like I think they had the baggy like hammer pants and and I think they actually had suspenders as part of the gimmick as well, with like the puffy jacket that had like the Arsenio Hall like extraordinarily big shoulder pads and all that.
Yep.
And then you go from there to whatever the new Heart Foundation was, or the Heart Dynasty, or whatever, where it's like, hey, they're somewhat genetically related. You're going to like them, right? And everyone was like, meh. Because that's all you got left at this point. It's like, oh, wow, so great. Yeah, they descended from the same loins. Okay, that's wonderful, I guess.
Yeah.
Can they wrestle? Oh, no, they can't. Next. And it's the same sort of thing. It's like it's like, oh, well, it's related to it, but do you really care? Nope. You haven't given me a reason to care.
I mean, the one thing I'll give them credit for, and I don't want to belabor this too long, but one thing I'll give them credit for is, at least in the prior movies with Chris Pratt, I know what you were saying about the Raptor Blue or whatever. I at least like the fact, though, they were trying to do something with what once was a lethal human killing dinosaur, and they were trying to bring a different angle to it by having, you know, him find a way to connect with the animal and start to coordinate and start to be able to have the animal, like, I don't mean to say like he didn't domesticate it, but it was just like the way he was able to go from it being, you know, the lethal villain of the very, very first Jurassic Park to now being this animal that he has some ability to communicate with and relate to. You know what I mean? Like, I thought that was kind of a cool twist on things. Now, in that movie, they still brought in a new dinosaur. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They still brought in some, you know, the Hardy Boys jumping off, you know, the 20-foot ladder instead of the 14-foot ladder.
Well, yeah, because you make it bigger and louder, and just hope everyone is just baffled by it. Yeah.
So for this movie, I mean, I'm looking forward to the movie because I've heard some good things about it, and I've heard it's, you know, taking things in a very interesting direction, get some of the old cast together. But I agree with you that, you know, this idea of always having to bring some new dinosaur in with some new abilities and some lethal, you know, human killing instincts, it just feels kind of, I don't know, a little bit over the top. And, you know, Bubba Ray Dudley jumping off the 20-foot ladder onto a prone Jeff Hardy on a table.
Sure.
As opposed to the 8-foot ladder. That's all.
Okay.
But I'll go back to my original answer when we started this entire diatribe about this particular topic and say that I believe the man they call Tim and Uncle Todd both both
We both appreciate.
we both do not give a crap.
Yes, exactly.
It's
Thank
not
you.
Scottish, it's crap.
Yeah, pretty much.
All
Now
right.
that'd be great if all the dinosaurs had like bagpipes and wore plaid. That would kind of be badass.
I know. It would be
It's like, do you hear the pipes?
A
Oh no, they're
sight-
coming!
a sight to behold. And finally, in this ultra extended version of the Week in Geek,
How is it that I always complain about the length of the Week in Geek, and I'm the one who wrote this, and now I'm extending it out to like be an hour and a half?
It puts 4 articles in. I'm like, this is going to be an episode. And I was like, no, we'll be fine. We'll get through it all.
It's like power corrupts. I don't know what the hell. This is like some sort of like tiki god that we're just like, when you get it, bad stuff starts happening.
But our final one is a nod to the 5-year anniversary of a pleasant and I'll say surprising. I mean, it was unclear how this film was going to do, but it was a standalone and stylistically just a wonderful throwback to the original trilogy in the way they did it and some of the tricks they pulled to have certain characters appear. But Rogue One hitting 5 years, believe it or not, folks. And just a interesting article Uncle Todd unearthed that was discussed. Basically, Gareth Edwards, the director, was discussing some of the challenges and ways they went about filming, especially Vader, and comparing filming Vader to, I believe, working on a car commercial because it's like not filming a human, it's filming something that's very reflective and light, plays off of the entirety of the outfit in various ways. And so it was kind of an interesting article to read, but sir, your thoughts on this and the 5-year anniversary of this movie?
It's so interesting because if you think about it, 5 years, not a lot of time. And in 5 years, we've seen the birth of the idea of like, oh my gosh, the standalone Star Wars movie, because this was like a Star Wars story. That was kind of like the original thing, like Rogue One, a Star Wars story or something like whatever the term was. And we're like, oh my gosh, these are going to be great. And then within a couple of years, Solo, a Star Wars story. Well, that's dead. Screw this. We're not doing these anymore.
Yep.
It's like, well, that was quick. All it took was actually seeing the Kessel Run in person, and everyone went, nah, didn't need that. But yeah, the highest of highs and the lowest of lows in 2 movies is kind of funny to look at. But oh my gosh, this movie was such a revelation when it happened, and is still one of my favorite Star Wars movies. Yep. And it was one of those is another one of those things where I didn't know that I wanted it until it was set in front of me, and then I'm like, oh my gosh, how did I not know that I wanted this?
Yeah.
And it's again why fans, I'll say it again, like, and I say this as a fan of stuff, fans are dumb. We don't always know what we want. We think we know what we want, and then it ends up not being what we want, because often fans are not the ones who have the same creative vision and knowledge of what's going on. And I had no way of knowing that this is what I wanted, even though in some part of my mind I would be like, yeah, it would be really cool to see how they got the plans for the Death Star. But I never thought that much about it or thought it would happen. And then all of a sudden here it is, like, oh my gosh, this is better than I could have ever imagined. And way better.
And doing it in a way, like I mentioned, it kept the aesthetic of the original trilogy. So when you saw characters, they had that kind of, 1970s look about them,
yep.
And with the costumes, with the ships and everything. And then, the trickery they played with the visual effects, bringing Tarkin back to life, was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there was a number of just really, really interesting and never before seen shots, like the shot of the Star Destroyer hovering over Jeddah.
Yes.
It was awe, I just remember seeing that, like, holy crap, I don't think I've ever seen a Star Destroyer quite that way before. It was amazing. And then there was the whole thing with like the Death Star rising on the horizon. There was the Death Star, kind of tipped upside down.
So many gorgeous visuals in that movie, man. Like
flying down toward that gate at the end. Oh my gosh.
How did Gareth Edwards not get a trilogy? Like, seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that movie is legit beautiful. Because when you look at like even the when they go and Jin is in the big troop carrier thing, and even that muddy planet where they're like plowing through, I'm like, oh my gosh, that's such a great visual.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it tells you everything that you need to know. Like, this is a miserable fracking place.
Yep.
Combine that with her in the cell and like 2 scenes that probably total like 40 seconds to a minute of screen time, tells you everything you need to know about her existence.
Yep.
And yeah, like the shuttle flying down on the planet where they're doing the flashback to the Urso's home, and those badass black armored stormtroopers walking across, and all of it is just bafflingly beautiful, and just so it fits so well into that world. Oh man, it's just a great flick,
and
just a great flick.
Lest we not forget Vader at the end.
And the thing is, like, if they had just cut the movie when they after like the plans got out, and then it's Jin and Cassian on the beach, and that's the end of the movie, everyone's happy. Because again, this is something you didn't even know that you freaking wanted in your life, and then it's they're presented to you, and it's done that well. And the movie ends right there. Wow, it is still one of the best Star Wars movies ever. Top 10, top 10, yeah. Like top 5, arguably at that point. Like your original trilogy, and then like that's got to be 4 or 5 for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Then you go into this zone where you're like, what? Oh, they not. And I mean, it is like life changing when you realize that, oh my gosh, this is moments before the beginning of episode 4. Like, they are taking me right up to it. And the first time that Vader shows up, it is literally like the only thing that even comes close to like approximating that is like as a teenage boy seeing like boobs for the first time.
Oh, good.
I'm serious.
Good Lord.
We talked about it in pre-production. It's the only thing I could come up with. It's not even close. It is that moment where you're like, I didn't know. I just didn't know. And but and I say that in good humor, like as because when you're that young, like you're kind of dumb. And it's just like, that is like, you think that's the end all be all of life, and then you get older and, well, you're still like that, but then you learn there's other things too. So that's just the way that we're wired, and hey, whatever. But it is one of those things where it's just like it's just so far beyond anything that you had any reason to expect. And then, of course, you get Leia at the very end, and then it's just like, okay. And now I went from like, oh my gosh, this is awesome, to like, I kind of want to cry, and it's just like, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, for Gareth Edwards to have the opportunity to not only film scenes with that character, that iconic character of Vader, but to do him justice in showing him at his prime. Basically going through and we got a small smidgen of how ruthless he could be in Star Wars, and to some degree in Empire, but never like that. Never where he is a one-man wrecking machine going through and just taking out an entire squadron of rebel soldiers, all in pursuit of these plans, which to your point perfectly tees up going right into episode 4. I'd read an article last week with Edwards where he was talking about, look, when we see Vader in Star Wars, for the first time, he is not happy. He is upset. And so this was an opportunity to kind of say, here's why he's upset. because not only is it them getting away with the plans, but it's him, he was so close and he was just so dominant, and for that character and what we know of Anakin and his thirst for power and kind of forming the galaxy in his own image, had to be extraordinarily frustrating. It was like, so to your point, perfect segue into episode 4, great way to bridge those and really telling a beautiful story where, let's face it, the entire, set of heroes, sacrifice themselves, which is a very rare thing in movies because you can't make a sequel out of that. So,
yeah. Well, we say that, but we are getting Cassian. We are getting Andor
fair.
on,
prequel.
But the thing is now also tying into this, a couple days ago, we celebrated another anniversary, the 1-year anniversary of the final episode of Mandalorian Season 2, when we get the return of Luke Skywalker doing a very similar badass, just total laying waste, Jedi in full flower.
Luke in his prime.
Yeah, and just to know that those two things are kind of up for anniversaries is like, yep, this feels just right. And
on that note, this was your 46-minute version of The Week in Geek.
Well, we thank you all for tuning in this week, and it's now time for us to get going.
Whoa, player. We still have some debate, some adjudicating to do here, my friend.
Oh, I'm sorry. I guess we should get to that. So,
all righty, we are at the main event, ladies and gentlemen. Here we are going to once again go through a set of rumors, theories, ideas that the interwebs have produced around what exactly is going to happen in this show, The Book of Boba Fett.
Mm-hmm.
And rather than, just take it at face value, we, of course, here at Free Range Idiocy put our own wrestling-infused spin on all of this, if you're not familiar. We like to call this segment, this episode, if you will, The Real or the Jabroni, where we will call it down the middle. We will declare what is real, what is not, and there was a bottle of bourbon on the line, ladies and gentlemen, so someone goes home a winner, and a winner who may not be able to walk a straight line. So,
hot
thank you, Shiki. All right. With that being said, we will dive right in. We will go through, we will make our selections, and at another episode, we will walk through these selections again. We will score and award the winnings to it. Now, one little spin we put on it.
Actually, two little spins, because we were going to be joined by our resident Star Wars expert, Mr. Jimmy Dice of Scruffy Looking Podcasters. However, Jimmy Dice, this being very close to the holiday season, as we were in the throes of the holiday season, as the man they call Tim would surely say.
I'll accept it.
He is rightfully so trying to clear out a little time to spend with his family so that he does not get impaled on his Christmas tree for Christmas morning. And
good Lord.
And so he's spending time with his family, so he couldn't join us for this. So our best wishes to Jimmy Dice.
Yes,
and but we are actually doing something a little bit different here too, Tim. So what are we doing to juice things up here a little bit?
Well, the way I was going to frame this was, it wasn't enough for us two chuckleheads to be wagering a guess at these sorts of things. We decided, why not involve the youth?
The youths.
The Utes, exactly. Get the Utes involved. So Uncle Todd and myself came up with this idea of having what we call the Junior Division Real or Jabroni, where we get our children to make selections on these whom we watch these shows with. So we will have our children, Kaylin, TJ, and Jackson. So Kaylin, Uncle Todd's daughter, TJ and Jackson, my sons. And they have already made their choices. We will read them off as Uncle Todd and I think on, debate, percolate, articulate.
Oh, gosh, we're already running real late. How about you get into this?
Well done, sir. So with all that being said, we're going to jump right in, and similar to the Matrix Real and Jabroni, we have a section here called Not Quite Dead Yet. So first one, Boba Fett survived the Sarlacc via jetpack. Now, how does this relate to the Book of Boba Fett? One of the thoughts and ideas is part of the series will be a look back at how exactly he was able to get out of what seemed like a situation that he died in. So when we see him in Return of the Jedi, he falls into the pit. He is assumed to be dead because the Sarlacc will be digesting him for the next 1,000 years. This one is meant to say he survives after Jabba's barge blows up, after Han, Luke, and Leia take off and go to the Falcon. All of a sudden, flying out of the Sarlacc is Boba Fett with a jetpack. Real or Jabroni?
Jabroni, because his jetpack was all jacked up from Han Solo hitting it.
Ah, astute observation, sir.
I can't take credit for that. My kid actually came up with that one.
How many of these are going to be that? Basically, he has his ringer now, you know?
Well, the thing is, like, as she was filling these out, she had the laptop and she's looking through them, and I'd hear her like, well, and I hear her talking it through. I'm like, good Lord, like, you're putting actual thought into this. Like, you're going to be doing this podcast in like a week at this point.
And I said to Uncle Todd, I'm surprised. I said to him in the pre-production meeting, I was surprised he didn't all of a sudden pipe up and say, this is Tim who wrote this. This isn't. Yeah. This isn't like a thesis that I put together,
But what can I say? She is a diligent young lady. So I'm gonna follow her lead on this one.
All right. And so Kalen. So my selection. Uncle Todd said Jabroni. I am going to say Jabroni as well. And then for our junior division, Kalen said Jabroni. TJ said the real. And Jackson said Jabroni. So TJ's thinking it is going to be the jetpack. Everyone else, we're all saying no way.
Yeah. And just to clarify, I just want to make sure we get this right out front.
Sure.
The junior division is excluded from the bourbon contest. Okay,
sorry, I guess that was a key point I left out.
Let's just make that real clear, okay?
So this is strictly about the satisfaction of being on an award-winning podcast. The award, I believe,
we won an award,
awarded ourselves. Oh, and that I think is the bottle of bourbon. So
one of them. Okay, all right, yeah.
It's all perspective.
Well, Tim actually was, to Tim's credit, once again showing himself to be the empathetic, nicer host of the show. He says, "Oh, so should we do like a gift card to some fast food or something like this?" I'm like, "No, it's just the honor of being on the podcast. We aren't making any money off of this." Like, as far as I know, none of them are paying us rent, so no.
Oh, my gosh.
Internet fame and fortune. That's what your reward is.
That is your reward. All right. Second one. The Tuscan Raiders save Boba Fett from the Sarlacc.
Now, this one's kind of interesting because it would be an interesting twist that the Tuscan Raiders would do that. But I don't know. I almost feel like it's going to be something aside from that. Like maybe the Tuscan Raiders help him afterwards, but I don't know that they would save him from the Sarlacc. So,
all right,
I'm going to go Jabroni. I think they will play into it because there's such great characters, but I don't think they're necessarily going to save him. Oh, look at you.
I am going to go the real on this one.
Okay.
I think, and my reasoning is this, that there are a few pieces from The Mandalorian when we see Boba Fett that need to be kind of explained or hopefully explained in the series. One of them is his possession of the Gothy stick. The other is his ability to wield it and the fact that he does, in a lot of ways, look like a sand person or a Tuscan Raider. In his clothing when we see him on Tatooine.
That is true. Yep.
So there's a lot of things pointing to them being somehow influential in his survival. So I'm going to go the real on this one.
Okay.
Our junior division. Oh, sorry. Were you saying something?
No, I just said okay.
All right. Our junior division shakes out this way. Kaylin is the real on this, so she thinks this will happen. TJ says Jabroni. And Jackson says the real. So we have 3 the reals, 2 the jabronis.
Okay.
Interesting. All right. Number 3. Something We don't know what, but something killed the Sarlacc, and that allowed Fett to escape.
I'm going to go real on this because I think that opens up a lot of possibilities. I think that's the case. Even if it's Boba Fett, I mean, maybe Boba Fett killed the Sarlacc. We don't know. Maybe he fired that rocket out of the backpack. That's what.
I am also going to say the real. And then let's see. Kalen, TJ, and Jackson all said the Jabroni on this, so they disagree.
And they're probably right. Let's just be honest.
Well, yeah, we'll have to do a couple different analytics runs here. Like one being, how did the kids combined score against their parents, and just put us to shame.
Yeah. That's going to be a rough one. I'm telling you right now. It's going to be rough.
Indeed. Number 4, we see how Boba Fett saved Fennec Shan's life. I'm going to say the real.
I'm going to agree. It feels like it'd be a good informative flashback.
All right. And actually, all of our junior division agrees. They all put the real as well. So all 5 of us went the real on this one.
Wow, that's a clean sweep. That's unusual.
I feel good about that. This one comes from the mind of Uncle Tim, or Uncle Tim, God, the man they call Tim. The Jawas
always trying to steal my gimmick. Always.
I know. How could I?
My goodness. And I think I gave you the cooler of the 2 nicknames here.
Oh, you did. Absolutely.
And yet you still want to steal mine.
God. Well, what can I say?
You're like the dog that we had. We had 2 dogs. We had one that was incredibly stupid and one that was incredibly smart. Like smart in a way where you're like, I'm pretty sure you could drive if you had thumbs. And the smart dog was not a toy dog. Like she didn't like toys that much. She didn't even like to chew on bones or anything like that. She didn't really. It wasn't like a tennis ball dog or anything like that. But we would get them each a toy. She would take both toys and lay on them. She didn't even want to play with them. She just wanted to have them. And that's kind of how I feel like you about these gimmicks. Like you don't even necessarily like the fact that I'm Uncle Todd. You just want the gimmick. I just want it.
It's more just bad memory more than anything else. But
okay, in that case, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Number 5, and our final one in this section, not quite dead yet. The Jawas saved Boba Fett from the Sarlacc pit in an unselfish moment.
No, Jabroni. The Jawas don't do anything for unselfish reasons. Like they're stripping Mando's ship just for kicks, and they're gonna get something. So I think, and that's not a knock on Jawas. I don't want anyone to think that I'm biased against Jawas.
Anti-Jawa.
Tatooine is a rough place to live, man. Like you got to do what you do to survive. You don't have time to necessarily always be going around like, hey, that place where you can go down and suffer for 1,000 years as you're being digested by this thing? Yeah, let me go down there and try and save this dude in the helmet who we don't know who he is. Nah. If the Jawas are going in there, he got saved by accident.
Well, I will tie in one explanation for why I threw that in a moment. But
okay,
before we move into the next section, so you and I said Jabroni. All of our junior division also said Jabroni as well. So
another clean sweep
all around. Our next section I call A Man of the People.
Thank you, Mario Bain.
Thank you very much. So this kind of ties into the Jawas a little bit. So, and this was a theory or rumor I read online that the Tuscan Raiders. So a lot of these are going to be kind of based in this idea that the Tuscan Raiders saved Boba Fett. So if you don't buy into that, you're not going to probably buy into any of these. But the first one is the Tuscan Raiders sold Boba Fett's armor to the Jawas to fund his recovery. So the idea here is that his armor ends up with Cobb Vanth because Cobb Vanth got it from the Jawas, I believe. I believe he purchased it from them or something.
Yeah.
And the idea is that it ends up with the Jawas because in order for the Tuscan Raiders to heal him, they need to get credits in order to buy the supplies they need to at least keep his life going. So the idea, the irony here is they sell his armor to save his life, basically. Mm-hmm. So that is where this is coming from.
I'm going to go real on it. Because even though I don't think they are necessarily responsible for saving him from the Sarlacc pit, I think that they are responsible in some way for him being alive. I don't think they're originally the rescuers, but they are the folks who are helping him afterwards. So yeah, that seems like a plausible thing.
I'm going to go the real as well. I think this is plausible and would be an interesting way in a back, kind of a flashback sort of scene to kind of show the chain of ownership, if you will, from Boba to the Jawas to Cobb, back to Boba, or to Mando, then to Boba.
Mando's asking what Timothy Oliphant, you got papers on that on those you got a clear title on that set of armor? I'm gonna need to see a deed on that, please.
Right.
It better be notarized. That's all I'm saying. Better be notarized.
I just love how the Mandalorian and Cobb Vanth like bicker over it, and then like Boba Fett actually throws on the what does he call it, the something chain. It was in my head and now I'm forgetting it. Not blockchain, but it was some sort of chain. It was
chain code.
Chain code. Thank you. Yeah, it was that thing that mirage that kind of fires up from the arm piece that kind of shows. Yeah, he's like, this is my father, this is me. Just kind of showing the ownership. So I thought that was kind of funny. Like they just kind of bicker over it, but he actually can fire up the data to show. This is my dad's and this is mine.
Yeah. And you, sir, are not a Mandalorian.
No, you're not. Our junior division came in split. So Kaylin said the real on this one. TJ said the Jabroni, and Jackson said the Jabroni. So,
all right.
So not proponents, or at least my two were not proponents of this theory at all. Next one. Boba Fett's possession of the Gaffi stick is due to earning the respect of the Tuscan Raiders, and they're giving it to him.
I kind of want to say real, but I have this theory that things did not end well with him in the Sand People. I kind of almost feel like he took it.
All right.
Like I'm thinking that something happened and things did not go well.
Uncle Todd thinks shenanigans were afoot.
I declare shenanigans.
Shenanigans. I'm going to go the real on this. I'm bought into this Tuscan Raider theory. I think it would.
You are heavily invested in this. You're almost as invested in this one as you were in Kirsten Dunst in Spider-Man: No Way Home. Like you were buying that, and like you were give me all the shares you can. All of them.
I messed up on that one big time.
Now let's not, no spoilers. Let's get to that when we get to that.
I know. All right. So Uncle Todd says Jabroni. I'm going to say the real, mainly because if you go with this idea that they saved his life, and I'm also kind of going off what we saw in Mando season 2, where Mando could, reason with them and speak their language and kind of, be a. Now, I'm going to say be a part of their culture, but understand their culture enough to know how to not get on their bad side. And really, I'm wondering if what we'll see is, Fett gets saved. And we see Fett in season 2 no longer really as a bounty hunter, more a man of honor. He will go against you if it's in his interest to do so, but he is an honorable individual in the fact that he doesn't abandon the Mandalorian, his armor, he's able to reclaim his armor, and he sees through his promise to him to help him with getting, with getting Grogu back. And so being, kind of that honor bound person, I'm just thinking that, that this experience he goes through kind of helps reinforce that. And that's why I said the real.
Okay.
Our junior division. So Kalen and Jackson both came in with the real, and TJ said the jabroni. So,
Alrighty.
All right. Number 8, the Tuscan Raiders are in bondage to the underworld cartels.
The one that I would actually think is more in bondage, more likely to be working for a cartel, is the Jawas.
I could see that.
That's the one that I would see as more being in cahoots or kind of being subservient to a cartel. That's just me. So I'm going to go jabroni on this one.
All right. I am going to go making that sound again.
Again, like a squirrel with a rotten acorn or something.
I know.
It's like a chipmunk with a toothache.
Yeah, I'm gonna go jabroni as well.
All right.
And mainly because, like, what I'm struggling with is whether or not this answer conflicts with what my answer will be for number 9.
Are we really concerned about conflicts at this point? After the Matrix episode, are we really going to trouble ourselves with conflicts?
I want to be consistent here, is all I'm saying.
Oh, that's a fool's errand, but that's just me.
Oh my gosh. Well, anyways.
Dude, you're on a podcast called Free Range Idiocy. Embrace it. Embrace it.
I'm proud. So our junior division for this one, the Tuscan Raiders in bondage to the underworld cartels, came in as follows. Kalen and Jackson both said the jabroni, and TJ said the real.
All right.
So, and I was kind of bought into this one too, but I don't know. I go back and forth on it because there's other ways. So number 9 says Boba Fett's actions throughout the series are to repay the Tuscans for saving his life. So originally in my head, I'm thinking if they're in bondage to the cartels, this is his way of freeing them and repaying them. But there's other ways he could do that. Like, they don't have to be subservient to the cartels. And quite honestly, how are they subservient to the cartels? I'm not entirely sure. Because they roam around the desert. You know what I mean? Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I feel like we might be getting a little too into, oh, he's a man of honor and integrity. Like, yeah, you can still, we've seen plenty of somewhat honorable thieves and honorable, anti-heroes and things like this. I think that in some ways, Boba Fett is still at heart a bit of a bounty hunter and a bit of this of the original character. And I think that, yes, we saw a different way of telling that story through Mandalorian and how he interacted with a fellow Mandalorian. I think that's an important distinction, that there is that code and that kind of understanding between them. I don't think I think that this could just be as simple as he's just like, all right, I'm taking over because you know what? Jabba sold me out. I don't like this dude with the curly cute ears, so I'm just going to plug him first. And then you know what? I deserve this. All right, let's do this. I think it could just be as simple as that. I don't think it has to be like, oh, now I need to go repay the Tuscan Raiders or whatever.
All right.
So I'm going to say jabroni.
I am going to say the real. So, all right. So we're different there. And then in our junior division, all of our Utes are the jabroni on this one. So I am the only one saying this is going to happen, and I'll probably be proven wrong.
Smart kids.
Moving on to our next section, a man on a mission. So what exactly is Boba Fett going to be about doing? So a few of these theories kind of, tip the cap a little bit in terms of what that could be. So number 10, Fett will walk through a checklist of vengeance, Kill Bill style.
Oh, this is so tempting because I would watch this show after show of like, hey, Boba Fett's going to kill this dude this week. Perfect. Sign me up. I'm in. I'll take 8 episodes of that, please. Yes. But I think that's a little bit. Well, I mean, I could play into a lot of different ways. That is tempting. Wouldn't you love to see like Boba Fett, like just in different ways, just like all of a sudden you just hear a bit of dialogue from different movies, like just in, Tamora Morrison coming out, "Today I have settled all family business."
Hey, I have one later on that is a Godfather-esque one, so
that would be just sweet. Although I don't see Robert Rodriguez necessarily going quite that far into it, and that's why he has a career in Hollywood and I do not. I think that could be part of it. So I'm going to go real. I think that he could be out to settle a bunch of old scores. I think that would be, and I think that would be awesome. I really do.
All right. I want to go Jabroni on this one, but I'm a little
Go ahead, make that noise a couple more times. It'll help you think.
Because he could have started with Bib Fortuna, right? I mean,
oh, totally. That was a total like, what? You piss me off in particular. I never liked you ever. And you know what? I would have plugged your boss, but he's not around anymore. And you're almost as big as he was. Boom, you're done.
Yep.
Next.
Yep. All right.
Wouldn't it be great, like when the first, like, because I mean, of course, that was great watching, Bib just get jobbed out right there, and Boba Fett sitting down on the throne. Wouldn't it be great if like the series picks up 5 seconds after that, and you just hear Boba Fett like, "Get that out of here," something like that,
right?
Haul it out. Either that, or it just opens up the pit to the Rancor. It's like, I hope like there's his feeding for the day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Oh, jeez,
that's funny. All right, so our junior division all said the real on this one. So all 5 of us are the real on that. He will run through a checklist of vengeance, Kill Bill style.
Mm-hmm.
Number 11, Boba Fett will play rival cartels against each other to achieve his end game.
I mean, it would make sense, but then it's also a matter of like, is that just too much trouble? How devious is Boba Fett, and how much does he want to work that, or how much is Boba Fett just like, no, I'm just going to kill everybody?
I think we're about to find out how devious he is.
True, very true. I don't think he's devious. I think Boba Fett is shrewd, and I think there's a big difference between the two. I think he's shrewd. Being shrewd, I don't necessarily think you necessarily play everyone against each other. You just kind of know, like, okay, I'm going to take you out. I ain't going to take you out now. But yeah, I'll go with real. Yeah, that's kind of part of it, really. I think I talked myself in and out of that. Isn't that was talent right there?
I know. That's my problem. I read some of these and I'm like, it could happen. I'm going to say the real as well. All right, in our junior division, Kalen and TJ were both the jabroni, and Jackson was the real. So,
all right,
3-2 that way. Number 12, Boba Fett wants to be a crime lord, albeit different from Jabba. So the idea here is he is actually wanting to ascend to that kind of level, and he sees a opportunity with Jabba's absence to step in that role and become one.
See, I have trouble with this because the thing is, it's a very specific thing to say, oh, he wants to be a crime lord, as opposed to just he wants power, which can be then leveraged into different ways. I think
that's on
I'm going to go
purpose.
jabroni on this because I think it's a different thing. I think it's more like what the next question is going to be.
And I will agree with you.
Of course you will.
It's all a chess match for the bourbon.
Oh, jeez. Here we go.
Our junior division, Kalen and Jackson are both going to go the real on this one, and TJ will join us in the jabroni.
Mm-hmm.
All right, number 13. Boba Fett is trying to capitalize on an opportunity that Jabba and Bib squandered.
I'm going to go real on this one.
Yeah, so I don't say exactly what this is, but basically something something has been there that both Jabba and then later on Bib either didn't see or chose to just not even bother to do anything with. But Boba Fett knows about it, and he knows the value, the importance, wants to capitalize on it.
Yeah, and obviously this wasn't anything to do with the buffet because Jabba and Bib both found that no problem.
Yeah, it is kind of funny how there's a physical similarity to those that take over this role.
Yeah. Yeah, but Boba better watch out. Otherwise, it's going to be, he's going to need to expand some armor.
Oh, my gosh. I'm going to go the real as well. So I think we're going to find out about something he's trying to capitalize on.
That's going to be real rough if, like, by the end of season 1 of Book of Boba Fett, he's wearing stretchy pants. That's going to be real rough.
Oh, stretchy pants.
Where are my recreation pants?
I like the sweats.
Then give me the sweats.
So our junior division also came in at the real on this. So all 5 of us are the real on number 13.
All right.
Number 14, we find out Bib Fortuna could have saved Fett from the Sarlacc, but left him to die.
Huh. That's interesting because that would really explain the grudge. But then again, how would he know that? Unless you have some sort of shot of like Bib like literally peering over the edge of the Sarlacc, like Well, I don't know how Boba would necessarily know that,
To use Jimmy Dice's term, I think he's used the term headcanon before, right? So in my headcanon, the way this would kind of work is we find that Fett, maybe through jetpack or something else, is kind of fighting his way out, and he sees, Bib like on a skiff, like basically Jabba's skiff blows up, right? Bib's not on it, but Bib comes with some other folks to kind of see what the heck happened, right? And he's over the Sarlacc pit, just kind of seeing like Jabba's ship and Jabba's everywhere, and looks down, sees Fett, and is like, screw you, and then leaves.
There's a chunk of Jabba over there. There's a chunk of Jabba over there. There's a bit of tail. There's a bit of salacious crumb. Oh boy, that muppet looking thing.
Oh my gosh. I'm gonna go the real on this.
I'm gonna go Jabroni. I don't think that's the thing. I think it's just like that sort of thing. Like, you know what? I just don't like you.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly could be something else. There may be some other event that is revealed. But I just thought this would be kind of interesting that for him to just kind of, he says nothing to him. He just walks in the room and shoots him.
Well, the thing is, what would be great is like, if like, again, like that, it picks right up after that. And Fennec's like, so was he responsible for this and that and the other? Did you just not like Bib Fortuna? And if Boba's just like, is that what his name was? And that's it. Like, it was just, no, he just annoys me on a genetic level. There was something about him I just did not like. I just decided I'm going to pull a Han Solo. I'm just going to walk in the room, not say a word, and just start shooting. That's what I'm going to do. That's what I'm going to do.
His response will be, he took my spatchka.
Could be.
You don't take Boba Fett's spatchka. No, never. All right. Our junior division came in with Kalen and TJ saying the Jabroni and Jackson saying the real. So we have 3-2 in favor of the Jabronis. All right. Number 15, Boba Fett and Fennec will battle with Crimson Dawn.
I'm going to go real on this, if only because I'm hoping that they're trying to once again kind of redeem some of the more neglected parts of Star Wars canon, and I feel Solo is ripe for that because that movie has actually aged remarkably well, I think, in terms of like overall canon, and it's not nearly as offensive as when I first saw it. And I'm like, oh, I didn't need this. Now you're sort of like, all right, well, there's some interesting stuff in there. I still say that movie didn't necessarily 100% need to be made about Han Solo, but there are some very interesting ideas in there that could spin off into other things.
Agreed. I'm going to say the real as well. I agree. I think it'll be a great opportunity to kind of expand upon that concept that was introduced in that movie. And since we're not going to get a Solo sequel anytime soon, I think it would be kind of interesting to see that group still in existence, even throughout all the turmoil of the original trilogy, and have him, kind of go head to head with them. So I am going to go the real. Our junior division, we have Kalen and TJ agreeing with you and I. So they said the real, and then Jackson saying the jabroni.
Right on.
All right, that fills out that section. So our next section is called Now You See Me, Now You Don't. This is all about appearances, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't mean what was I trying to say?
I have no idea.
A well-manicured beard or something like that. We're not talking about that appearance. We're talking about the appearance of characters that may be unexpected or may be expected, given that this is about the underworld. We shall see. Number 16, Han Solo will make an appearance. What say you, sir?
Jabroni. I cannot see how you're going to go.
I'm just typing. I'm not talking to you.
I understand, but I don't see how you go. Like, you have Luke Skywalker in the last one. Now you're going to pull out Han Solo in this one. You had Princess. Like, you at some point you just have to be like, okay, enough with the guest appearances from beyond. Let's just let this one stand on its own 2 feet, or have an appearance by someone like really unexpected. Like, what if we got Obi-Wan Kenobi showing up in this, somehow in a flashback? Something like that could be interesting. But I don't need to see Han Solo. That I don't think that's the case.
All right. We have Kalen and Jackson agreeing with you and I also went jabroni on this one, and TJ saying the real. Number 17, Kira, who is a character from Solo, and as we left her in Solo, became the head of Crimson Dawn. She will make an appearance as the head of Crimson Dawn.
So the only question I have with this is the timing, because Solo takes place quite a ways before A New Hope.
Correct.
And this is taking place after Return of the Jedi.
Correct. So she would be a bit older.
I don't know. I find it hard to believe that. She's associated with Crimson Dawn, but isn't what's his face?
Darth Maul's dead at this point.
Well, I know, but Darth Maul was the head of Crimson Dawn.
Correct.
And then he did. So
I think I'm postulating here that she's taking over.
Well, actually, wait a minute. So if Darth Maul is involved, was Solo? No, Solo couldn't be taking place before Phantom Menace, right? So this is after Darth Maul got sewed back together or something, right?
Correct.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah.
I don't know. It just seems kind of weird. Well, no, because Darth Maul's back. I don't know if they're going to go quite that deep, but geez. You know what? I'm going to go real because I keep trying to talk myself out of it and I can't do it. So I'll go real. Why not?
Yeah. The reasoning I put into this is it would almost, I mean, obviously they don't have to have Crimson Dawn be a part of this, but if you're going to make one of the selling points of this show that every galaxy has its underworld, and you introduce this entity at the end of one of your movies, it would seem almost criminal not to have it appear. And not to have,
I see what you did there. Criminal. That's good.
And to have a character who will, probably not have an opportunity to make an appearance in any other, Star Wars movie at this point, but bring her into this other story, just as kind of a, maybe not as a critical character, but maybe in one episode she pops in. You know what I mean? Similar to, we saw like Rhodey, right? He appeared in Falcon and the Winter Soldier in like episode 1, but Rhodey wasn't a key piece to that whole series. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's very economical storytelling because you already have a character. It's like, oh, we don't have to do any explanation. You know who this is, or we'll remind you of who it is really quickly. They're already there. They're already established. They already fit into the universe. We don't have to. Again, it's more of a, hey, you remember this person? Cool.
Right.
This is where they are now in this organization that we've already introduced. That
Exactly.
I mean, quite honestly, the only two criminal organizations that we've heard of in live action Star Wars land is Jabba's gang and Crimson Dawn, right? I mean, and then you'd have to go into like Rebels to get anything else there, or you'd have to go into the extended universe or Legends or whatever and get into Talon Card territory and stuff like that. Well, it doesn't make any sense why you wouldn't, because again, it's so easy. Like, hey, here's a thing that it was like 3 years ago. Right. I'm sure you should be able to remember this, and if not, hey, guess what? It's like 2 buttons over on the same app that you're watching this on. So yeah, no, I'll go the real. Yeah, I think that's totally you're right on the button.
Thank you. All right, our junior division, Kaylin and TJ came in at the real, and Jackson says the jabroni. So we are 4-1 on that one. Number 18. And I kind of regret writing this, but we also tried to cap, we're really trying to cap our real and jabronis at about 25 statements, because it gets a little long at the tooth, once you get past that
how
point.
many do we have here?
We have 25. Oh,
we did. Okay, good.
Right on the money. So I wanted to do individual ones for this, but I grouped them all together. IG-88, Dengar, and Bosk will return to aid Fett and Fennec. These are 3 bounty hunters that appeared with Boba Fett in his first appearance in The Empire Strikes Back.
Yeah.
And these 3 would be making a return to aid him and Fennec.
Yeah, and just so we all realize, IG-88 does not specifically reference the specific IG-88 that was in Mando season 1.
Correct.
He gone. It's just
correct.
That particular IG-88 that was in that. Although I wonder if that is kind of like sort of like Favreau headcanon, that is the IG-88 that was in Empire Strikes Back that is now is part of the guild and all that. Like, I wonder if that is the same IG-88.
I thought they said it was different.
Okay,
but I don't remember specifically what documentary I'm thinking of.
I'm going to go jabroni on this just because I wonder just how plausible it is that those bounty hunters in a criminal underworld. How long is the life expectancy of a bounty hunter? What is the career length of a bounty hunter? It's got to be somewhere around like what a running back in the NFL is. Like, you got 3 to 4 years on average. And then you're going to get shot, in some cantina somewhere. You're going to be left for dead in a dumpster out back of some spaceport. That's kind of what I'm thinking happens.
Right. And I don't have a whole lot of background on IG-88 and Dengar, but I had read some stuff recently about Bosk being in some ways a mentor to Boba Fett. So
which one was Bosk? Was that the...
Bosk he's the Trandoshan. He's the one that looks like a lizard.
I love how you said Trandoshan like I'm going to be like, oh yeah, that one. Like, this isn't Jimmy Dice you're talking to here.
I miss Jimmy Dice.
Oh, because he could tell you like what their planet's like and everything, but you tell me, I'm like,
sure.
Yeah, sure.
Or at least he could go into at least a few volumes of the extended universe to back up this up.
I'm sure he could.
But I did read that somewhere that I think in the books, I just don't know what books, that Bosk had been in some ways a mentor to Fett.
All right.
So, but that, again, what makes this one hard, I'm going to say the real on this one, but I fully recognize that not all 3 of them need to appear. You know what I mean? Like, it would be enough if 1 or 2 of them did, but I just thought it would be kind of cool. And knowing how they sometimes do these fan service moments where they bring in, kind of I just think it'd be cool for them to bring in the original crew, like from that scene and have them appear to go to battle together. Like a little sort of Western deal,
Right on.
All right, our junior division came in with TJ and Jackson as the real. So this is clearly a Uncle Todd, the man they call Tim, family battle right here. So Uncle Todd and Kaylin are Jabroni, and myself and my boys are the real. So we will see who's right. All right. Number 19, Grand Admiral Thrawn will make an unexpected appearance.
Thrawn is very quickly becoming the Mephisto of the Star Wars universe.
Oh, he does have red eyes.
I mean, it's getting real close right now because there's a Thrawn under every rock, behind every door, behind every potted plant, if you will, in the Star Wars universe. This is Jabroni.
All right.
No. And the thing is, like, you don't give people Thrawn until Ahsoka, if then, you know. You just don't all of a sudden drop him into the Boba Fett show because, it'll be cool. It's like, no, this is a huge buildup.
What if there is an Imperial entanglement, and that ship happens to be captained or led by the Grand Admiral?
Why would it? Like, he's out in deep space with the space whales.
Why would Luke show up with the Mandalorian?
Because Luke can do whatever the hell Luke wants to do. Good. Dude took down 2 Death Stars.
That's sound reasoning there, my friend.
And space magic between those 2 things, like right there. That's it. Space magic and he's Luke effing Skywalker.
All right.
Period.
All right. Well, all 5 of us have gone Jabroni. Our entire junior division does not buy into this as well, and I understand. But it's an
wisely
interesting
so. Wisely so.
Wisely so. Well put. Number 20, Ahsoka will make an appearance.
Jabroni, come on, no. Ahsoka's getting her own show. We don't. This is Boba's time. This is Boba time.
Well, but think about it, right? Boba showed up in Mando, right?
Okay.
And now has his own show. Ahsoka could show up in Boba's show as a way to drum up interest in that show.
We already got Ahsoka and Mando.
I'm just saying.
Let me just tell you. What time is it? It's Boba time.
Good God.
That's where we're at right now.
All right. To go Jabroni as well. So again, all 5 of us are Jabroni on Ahsoka showing up.
And once again, you're trying to talk me into the bad ones just to rope-a-dope me, and it ain't working. I'm on to you. I'm
not talking you into anything.
Yes, you were.
I was not. I was simply giving a for instance why this could be a plausible theory. I just didn't buy into it myself.
Just stop. You're embarrassing yourself right now.
Number 21, Mando will show up to aid Boba Fett.
This is one that I would say is the more plausible of them, but at the same time, I think you not kind of need to give Mando a rest. You need to have the one Mandalorian at a time at this point. Like, okay, Boba managed to really play a huge part in Mando season 2 and inform that character, and it worked really well. I think that it lessens both characters to have Mando show up and be like, hey, let me help you. Now, that being said, they'll probably do it in a really great way, and I will just be like dumbfounded by it. But I'm going to say Jabroni.
All right. I'm going to say the real. I think Mando will come through and help Boba Fett out. In the same way that Fett ended up helping him.
All right, fine.
And our junior division agrees with me. So Kaylin, TJ, and Jackson all said the real on this. So you're odd man out on this one, man.
And that's all right, because you know what? They're just kids. They don't know how the world works yet. They don't know these things.
Oh, my goodness. Here we go. Number 22, one of my favorites. Talon Card will make his live-action debut during the series.
This one I'm actually going to go. This is my going out on a limb one. I'm going to go with a reel on this because it fits in really perfectly, because this would allow you to have a Han Solo character, but on a much larger scale.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And doing some really interesting stuff. And really kind of compete.
Yes.
And it also kind of gives you an in to then start getting into, what's her face?
Mara Jade.
Yes, it gives you an in there as well. So you've got some interesting ways to springboard off of that. And I
agree.
I think that's a heck of an idea.
And I did not include her in this because we had hit our 25 cap, but I will say I did send this in and the one about Mara Jade to the scruffy-looking podcasters for their true or false. They all said false to this, but what I will say, and you just touched on it, I think this one probably has the most likelihood of happening if they want to bring in a new character, a la what Ahsoka, kind of Ahsoka's appearance in Mando, because of the underworld aspect of this. Like this series and the environment this series will be in, and I'm saying this off of very limited trailers that have come out, so I could be totally wrong. Yeah. But if they are really making this about the underworld, then Talon Card, and at the time, at the time of him and Thrawn, at least in the Thrawn books, Mara Jade is part of his crew. And so this could be the time when we see him appear. And maybe not his crew, but he could make his presence felt. And that would then, play into potentially the Ahsoka series, because when you get Thrawn involved, then, Card becomes part of that as well. So, so it'll just be kind of interesting to see if they use Book of Boba Fett to kind of springboard this character. And I do believe Robert Downey Jr. is rumored to be playing him.
That's just, it won't happen. It would be great. It would be absolutely great. And he is exactly the kind of actor I think that could pull it off with a flair that would be befitting of Talon Card. I just don't see it happening. I don't. Not unless he is dying to be in a Star Wars thing. And maybe he is. Right. I don't know.
All right. Now, I need a parental override here. So Kalen put a maybe down here. So I wrote that down because I wasn't sure how to interpret that. So I'm going to defer to the father.
Shoot. And she's actually gone to bed by now. So I can't even go and ask her for a straight answer on this one. I'm going to say it's not really fair for her to say. Well, the thing is, I tried to get her to read the Zahn trilogy, and I couldn't get her to do it. And it's one of my great failings as a parent. Let's just go with. I'll go with real. She shares my optimism. She shares my optimistic ideals.
There we go. All right. So you, myself, Kalen, all say the real, and then TJ, and Jackson as well says the real. TJ is saying the jabroni.
All right.
We're down to the final three in a section I call the end game and other minutia. Number 23. This is just kind of a fun one. Fennec will pound a spotchka every episode.
The thing is, I can't remember what spotchka is. Like, what are we talking about here?
So when he shoots Bib Fortuna,
yes,
and sits in the throne, she sits next to him with a bottle of blue liquid. That is spotchka, I believe.
Okay. I'm gonna go jabroni. I think she's just having a celebratory beverage.
All right. Mainly because I don't want to lose a point. I'm going to say jabroni as well. I really would like to see that, though. Like, just have that be a gimmick. She just pounds a spotchka every single episode. I love it. But all five of us have said this. The juniors come in as well and say jabroni. So we are all five jabroni on this one. Second to last, Boba Fett and Fennec. Here we go. This is the Godfather one. Boba Fett and Fennec will wipe out, and I put in quotes, the heads of the five families, a.k.a. the heads of the underworld, to achieve some altruistic goal.
Yeah, I'll go with a real on this. It's just too good. It's too good. What can I say? It's just too damn
even
good.
Better is if it was him, Fennec, IG-88, Dengar, and Bosk.
And what would make it actually even better yet is if there's like one of the heads of the five families is playing the Ava Goda role and trying to like beg his way out of it.
Could you let me off the hook?
Hey, boss, could you let me off one time? Just for old time's sake. Sorry, Sally.
Sorry, Sally. You sleep with the fishes tonight.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. All right. And our junior division agrees as well. So all five of us are the real, unlike the last one where all five of us were the jabroni. And finally, the last one where I will again need a parental override. Fett and Fennec So this is kind of the end of the series, you know, when the series wraps up. Fett and Fennec, or season 1, whatever you want to call it, Fett and Fennec establish their crime organization as a quote-unquote Robin Hood group of the galaxy. So meaning they have an organization that funds themselves, but they're doing a lot to kind of help others, sort of thing.
I go Jabroni on this.
All right. I am going to go... I got to think about this one.
It's like an armadillo wearing tap shoes. Like, what is going on over there? Now you're venturing into Pauly Shore territory. The Weasel.
Good Lord.
Haven't heard that name in a while, have you?
I have not. I'm going to go The Real.
Oh, you sweet summer child, you.
I'm going to go The Real. And so I need a parental override. So Kaylin put possible.
No, we'll put her as real because she is not as jaded as I am yet. So let's give her the optimistic view.
All right. So our junior division all come in as The Real on this one. I come in as The Real, and you, Uncle Todd, being the curmudgeon you are the Jabroni.
Sounds right to me. Sure.
All right, and that wraps up our, and I believe this will be the final Reel and Jabroni for quite some time, barring any sort of new content that comes out. But
I kind of hope so. These are getting
it's
rattle my
get
nerves.
Costly once we start calculating. My goodness,
oh, man, yeah, it's gonna be rough. We're gonna be down to exchanging. Okay, what's under $10?
We're going to adjudicate. We're going to calculate, and then I'm going to need to defibrillate. So.
Nicely played on that one.
Thank you.
And another thing.
All right, sir. So what have you got for and another thing this week?
I don't have it in our show notes, but I'll just read through it. I am actually going to throw out there the activity I have done today with my family. We went down into Chicago, downtown Chicago Daily Plaza, the Chris Kindle Market. It is a tradition down in the city and is an outdoor, authentic German market. I had today Leberkäse, which is a pork and beef loaf. They have bratwurst, they have pretzels, they have all sorts of just amazing foods, pastries, desserts, a lot of crafts, all Christmas oriented, ornaments. My younger son bought a 3D wooden puzzle that was being sold by one of the market folk, and so it's a very cool setting. Of course, beer and glue wine being served as well in what do you call them? Ornamental sort of like steins.
What is glue wine?
It's I got to look it up. It's kind of a
I don't know, but I drank about 1.5 gallons of it today.
Hold on. I should have.
I still can't see out of my right eye.
It's mulled wine.
Okay.
So it is it's like a spiced wine. Here, let me back up. Oops.
Oh, is it sort of like mead?
Kind of. Usually made with red wine along with various mulling spices and sometimes raisins, served hot or warm. It is a traditional drink during winter, especially around Christmas.
Kind of sounds yummy.
So yeah, so I had kind of a regular one, which was made from red wine. I think my wife had one that was from white. I think it was white wine potentially with it was like apple cinnamon.
Ooh.
So that had an interesting flavor to it. So yeah, so it's a tasty little beverage to have when you're out in the cold, and so it was just a great experience. So if you happen to live near an area where they have a Chris Kindle Market, I would encourage you to go, because they are just kind of a nice little step into another world. And if they're doing it with authentic in mind, you'll have some wonderful foods and beverages to enjoy. So that is my and another thing.
Excellent.
To round out the holidays. And you, sir, what is your and another thing?
Well, mine is going to be a little bit of a tribute to our buddy Jimmy Dice, who could not be with us because one of the things that he kind of he had a 4-day work trip, and then he had a gig he played last week, Jimmy Dice is part of this band called the Fog Cutters. He was also in a band that I was in as well way back in the day called Mama's Boom Shack. But more recently, he is of the Fog Cutters, which is a full-on big band, contemporary big band, playing a lot of interesting music, a lot of interesting covers. And they actually, a couple of years ago, they came out with this original album called Flotsam. And it is all original music, and you can get it on Bandcamp. They also have a Christmas album called Jingle These Bells, which I recommend getting as well for your Christmas prep next year, because this is going to be coming out after Christmas. But some old Christmas favorites on that, and you can enjoy that throughout the year. And if you are able to find, they don't have it on Bandcamp, probably because of some, licensing issues and things like that. But if you can find some copies of their shows that were called Big Band Syndrome, they did a couple of these. I think there was a few that were on physical CD releases. If you can find any of those online, they are well worth your time. It was shows that they did with a lot of Maine musicians, and the musicians would come out and do versions of their songs that had been arranged for big band. So you would hear a song that this person had written, and then backed by a full, 22 piece, I believe is how big this band is, big band behind them with horns, and it's amazing.
Nice. And
some of the songs were just absolutely gorgeous, like bring you to tears gorgeous. So if you can find any of those, well worth your time to purchase the physical copies off the eBay or wherever you can happen to find them. But also you can check out Flotsam as well as Jingle These Bells off of Bandcamp and get the digital download on those. And that way you help put a couple shekels in Jimmy Dice's pocket as well as supporting local musicians who are very hardworking and extremely skilled too. Great musicians. And I know a few people in the band, and they're all quality people as well as musicians. So definitely support the Fog Cutters, and definitely support just local musicians wherever you happen to be. And now, ladies and gentlemen, we have come to that time, finally, for many of you thinking like, oh my gosh, are they talking about Battlestar Galactica? Because this one's running real long. We've come to the end of our long and winding road in the Book of Boba Fett, Rio and Jabroni. And we thank you for tuning in. We thank you for sticking with us this long. And my God, if you made it this far, have yourself a beverage on us. Just make sure that you get it out of your refrigerator after you've bought it. But it's on us. Totally. So, but thank you so much. If you would like to join the Free Range Idiocy congregation, it's very easy to do. There's no enrollment. There's no rituals. There's no hazing involved. There's no specific uniform. Although if you want to come up with one, you do you. I'm not here to tell you what to do and how to do it. Well, actually, that is what we do. But anyways, what you ought to do to join the Free Range Idiocy congregation is you go ahead and subscribe to the podcast. That's it. That's all you got to do. And you can find us on Apple Podcasts. We are on Google Podcasts. We are on iHeartRadio. We are on Spotify. We're on several other services that I probably don't even know about. Go ahead and search for Free Range Idiocy and you will find us. You can also go to freerangeidiocy.com and find all of our episodes there and subscribe through Podbean. Whatever works for you, just make sure that you subscribe and make them numbers climb, because damn it, that just makes us feel good. And if you want a little extra credit, if you want to move up from, say, just a parishioner to possibly a deacon, an associate deacon in the Church of Idiocy, what you got to do is you got to make sure you follow us on the social medias. We are on Instagram, we are on Facebook, we are on Twitter. All of those are at Free Range Idiocy, where you can find us. And if you have any questions, thoughts, concerns, offers of bribery, and especially if you have complaints, I want you to send all of those to Tim at freerangeidiocy.com, and he will deal with those forthwith, if not sooner. And now we come to that portion of the show where I finally stop flapping my gums. And if we learned one thing so far, is that I do enjoy flapping my gums, especially after the Week in Geek. Oh my gosh, I'm ashamed of myself and I apologize. But first, we need to ask a very important question. And no, it is not the most important question ever asked by humanity, which is, of course, what is hip? It is the second most important question ever asked by humankind. And that is, the hell did we learn this episode?
We have learned the following, sir.
I'm always so comforted when you have a list.
When Uncle Todd does the content collection for the Week in Geek, well, one can bank on a 2+ hour episode.
I'm ashamed of myself. I truly am. Truly am. I have become that which I despise.
We have learned Spider-Man is earning some ching, and rightfully so. Very, very well done story. Very well done movie. Do check it out.
All the money.
BSG reboot. Uncle Todd and the man they call Tim are a massive, massive sell on this one. There's
nothing to sell. It's like
happens.
crypto at this point. It's like that's what it should be. It's BSG crypto, and it's worth like 1,000th of a cent right
Is it
now.
like an NFT?
Not even. It's like the worst NFT ever. Like for your money, you get a little squiggle, and it's not even a cool squiggle like they did in the what is that? Jazz on the coffee cups.
Yeah.
That thing. It's not even cool like that. It's literally like a ballpoint pen squiggle. That was a mistake.
Indeed. Rogue One, 5 years old. So, if you're looking over the holidays for a movie to just burn some time, do check it out. It is a fantastic standalone Star Wars movie that bridges the prequels and the original trilogy together, and just fantastically directed, well acted, and that Vader scene at the end. Oh. Yeah. It'll get a little dusty in the room. And then, as we have talked for this episode about Book of Boba Fett, a lot of interesting ideas and thoughts about what could happen here, and I'm very excited, as is Uncle Todd, to see what the great minds at Disney are going to put forth here, because they've done phenomenal storytelling up to this point. And I have no doubt whatever journey they have this character who is iconic in the Star Wars universe, that they will have him go on a journey that will be storied and something we will be talking about. So
yes, indeed.
With that being said, and also we should give a special thank you to our children, to Kaylin, TJ, and Jackson, for taking the time to fill out their father's harebrained survey of what will actually happen and what won't, and participating. We do appreciate it, and as Uncle Todd has said, we will definitely have to try to get one Mr. Jimmy Dice back on when it works. But Merry Christmas to him and the family, and I think with that, it's time.
Are we ready to step off of this platform?
I think it's time to take the platform and break it down into another platform,
which is then forming a plat on the ground.
The platform for some, and everyways, you know how it is. It's time to wrap up, ladies and gentlemen. So, as we like to say, be safe, be healthy, be kind, be good to one another. And it is Christmas time, and the twinkle lights burn a little bit extra of the energy bill. So, if you would, please hit the lights on the way out.
Yes, sir. That's it.
So I got to tell you this before we finish this up. So
yes, sir.
Recording from home, the last episode and this episode has been lovely. First of all, recording in your PJs is just a beautiful thing. But second of all, not having Patrick to worry about has been also just blissful. However, today he started texting me.
Oh, yes.
And I've said a lot of bad stuff about Patrick, and I've had a lot of laughs at his expense, and this isn't a moment where
relationship there, I believe.
Yeah, and this isn't a moment where I apologize. This is where I say I'm going to have some more fun at his expense. He asked me what a Yule log is.
Oh gosh.
And so I've been messing with him all day.
Like kindling on a fire.
I've been messing with him all day about how it's actually it's a form of an illness. It's a very rare disease.
Oh, geez.
And he keeps telling me, well, no, I looked it up on the internet. No, it's this. I'm like, no, Patrick, that's what they want you to believe. Oh yeah, I've got him into full on tinfoil hat territory right now. It's freaking-tastic. He's going to spend Christmas curled up like in his bed, like his head wrapped in tinfoil and just shivering. And now I feel now that I've fully expressed all these thoughts, now I'm feeling guilty. I'm going to have to call him after we talk, and I'm going to have to let him off the hook.
Shame.
Can I just get like one more day to mess with them? Can I have one more day and then it's still okay? Or is it really bad?
Have you not put that poor soul through enough?
And you put me through it? I have to have a fire extinguisher in every room of the office. We can't have trash cans anymore.
Oh, good
Lord. Per Patrick code. Can't I get one more day to mess? That's it. I'm taking the extra day, but I'll let him off the hook tomorrow. Okay, 12 hours. I'll let him off the hook tomorrow afternoon.
Just trying to be the voice of Christmas spirit and reason for you, sir.
I know. Freaking annoying.
Well, Patrick, I tried.
Yeah, that's all you can do.
Now get the hell out of here!